Today I wanted to talk about my design philosophy going into this development process. There are three things I really want to focus on for Sorcerous and make them as good as possible. The three pillars of the game design, if you will. First off, there's story. Obviously, it's an RPG, story matters. Both in a macro sense with the overall story of the game, but smaller moments which are also really important. Things like what's going on with the characters and the story of the individual settings. Then there's combat. I'm really looking forward to when I get something concrete to show you. I've got some awesome enemies and some really cool powers and abilities for the main characters. But what I'm going to focus on today is quest design. Quest design is really important for RPGs. In Sorcerous, your progression is really tied to the quest system. And this is to get away from one of the things that really annoys me about RPGs, and that's the grind. Now, I know some games really are all about the grind, and you can definitely build some great games that way, but I felt the need to get away from that because I feel like the grind doesn't serve the story. It doesn't serve immersion, and it doesn't serve pacing. So there are lots of reasons to try and get away from that. So instead, I've really tried to put a lot of effort into the quest design. And there are a number of things that inspired me to do that. First off, there's a really interesting couple of videos on the YouTube channel Extra Credits where they talk about quest design. If you're at all interested in the topic, I highly recommend checking those out. They talk about the quest as an entry point to interacting with the world of the story. And that made a lot of sense. Another thing which really inspired me in terms of quest design is one of my single favorite quests in any RPG. From Fallout 3, the Wasteland Survival Guide. That quest is just one of the best. There's so many ways to do it. There are different ways to succeed. There are just fantastic interactions with the quest giver Moira. Just fantastically done. Finally, I was really inspired by BioShock, which is also one of my favorite games of all time. So many of the elements which feel gamey, like the menus and the power-ups, all of that is so well explained in universe, it was incredibly impressive. Basically, Adam is your XP, and you only get it from specific fights. Also, tying that to the moral choice system was a very interesting idea, even though moral choice systems are not really that great. So anyway, the quests in Sorcerous are, first off, meant to tell a story. You get a quest, you do the activity, and then you get a reward. And that reward is something which is going to empower the characters. Typically, in addition to a financial reward or some other one-time use items, you're going to be given a piece of equipment. Part of that is just making the quest feel meaningful. I'm sure this has happened to you. You go to the castle of the king of the land, and he tells you that his only beloved daughter has been kidnapped by the dread necromancer Carcinothrax, and he has taken her to Castle Dreadsteel to make her his bride. So you fight your way through his undead minions to the very peak of Castle Dreadsteel. You slay the necromancer and return the daughter to the king, and he gives you a suit of heavy armor and a sword. Thanks, your majesty. I'm a light armor user with a bow. What the hell am I gonna... Oh, I'm gonna go sell it. There are several different equipment types, and a lot of the character's power is tied to the gear that they pick up. They give stat increases and also some stat decreases. And you're going to want to be strategic with how you gear out your characters. Another thing I tried to do for the quests is to give them their own individual story arcs and tone. Sometimes you're going to be doing something which is more comedic and has more of that kind of vibe. Other times you're going to be going into some more dark, scary places. And a lot of the time I'm going to try and hook with a mystery. You know, something's going to be a little bit off, and hopefully you as the player are going to want to go investigate and see what's going on. And then at the end of it, you're going to get a nice reward. I also try and vary the quest type that you have to deal with. Okay, so In game design and RPGs, there are only so many quest types out there, really. There are kill quests, where you go and fight a bunch of things, or maybe one thing. It could be like a boss fight quest. There are fetch quests, where you go and get a specific item. There are FedEx quests, where you go deliver an item. Or there are location finding quests, where you just go to a specific place. What I've tried to do with Sorcerous is, with some of the larger quests, I've tried to include multiple objectives, which are basically either a fetch quest or a location quest or a FedEx quest. So you'll have a FedEx quest to somewhere, and then you might have to fight some stuff, and then return to the original quest giver. There are 3 basic categories of quests in the game. First off, there are the main story quests. These are the ones that are going to be pushing events forward. And what I tried to do with those is I wanted to give the player options. There are key moments in the game where you're going to be able to pick Quest A or Quest B. You'll be able to go to one location and do one type of activity, or go to another location and do another type of activity. And completing either one of those quests will advance you to the next portion of the story. The second type of quest is the side quest. These are always going to give you some nice items, including one that will really improve one of the characters. In fact, one of the difficulties I had was explaining the reward for some of these quests, because it has to be something which makes sense for the story. Finally, there are minor quests. These are just little things you're going to pick up. Sometimes they're confined to just one area. Sometimes it's a little bit of a bigger area. And I really had fun kind of hiding these around. So some of them are linked to interactions that you hear, or events that you observe, or things that you find in the environment. Finally, one of the most important things to stringing this all together was having an actual quest log and a way to inform the player that they've gotten a quest and there's something that they can do, and they have a way to track that. I didn't really notice it until I actually started working on games, but if you're playing like Fallout or something and you get a new quest, it tells you on the screen. You really need that in-game prompt, so you know, oh, I have something to do. I can check my log, and I can go do that, and it's some other action that I can do rather than just wander around, go to the next area, or find something to fight. Also, it gives me a chance to show off some of the quest names, because naming quests is like one of my favorite things I've gotten to do when designing this game. Thank you for watching this game development vlog for Sorcerous. Keep following Stupid Private 913 for more update videos like this, and videos on anime, movies, TV shows, comic books, or video games. All of which I love to talk about and talk with you about. Have a good one.